Well, indeed, thank you very much for joining us here today. This is KTN Business Today. My name is Peter Akaba, and for the next 1 hour, you can expect that we'll bring you up to speed on news-making business headlines, not just here in Kenya, but indeed right across the region and right across the world. Today, a packed show for you. We'll, of course, be coming to you live from the city center in Nairobi, where Kenya is hosting a conference that brings together, well, stakeholders from the world of green business. What exactly is the conversation around that topic here in Kenya? What mitigation can we bring to that conversation? What exactly has been the funding story there? My colleague Abiagina will be coming to us, well, a bit later on with some of that in just a few minutes. Also on this show, the fact that we will be discussing cash transfers, the Inua Jamii program. What exactly has been the story here since the pilot project kicked off in the year 2010? How many, well, elderly people are we supporting? An expert in studio to bring you up to speed on that conversation later on. Of course, the permanent secretary from the Ministry of East Africa Community, Labour and Social Protection, Susan Montani. She will be here later on in the show. Also on this show, we'll bring you up to speed on the conversation around the Lamu Coal project. What exactly has been the progress so far on the dissensions that have been filed in court? Well, that, of course, is later on in the show. Well, now to the stories of the day, where Kenya is today hosting a conference that will provide an important platform to discuss the funding of climate change mitigation and adaptation and climate-conscious investments here in Kenya. The conference will also assess the risk climate change poses to financial institutions and the potential for climate change regulation to spur the development of new products and services for individuals and SMEs. Kenya is recognized as a green finance leader in the UNEP inquiry report of July 2016. However, green finance is still struggling to take off due to factors pertaining to the financial sector regulations, financial institutions, and SMEs.
We are proud of being associated with the AGF Green Guarantee Facility. The whole objective of the Green Guarantee Facility is to promote green growth and climate-resilient development in African economies by catalyzing bank lending to SMEs for projects and investments linked to climate change adaptation and mitigation. During next week's joint AGF ITC training sessions at Lake Nyawasha, financial institutions will learn more about the new AGF Green Guarantee Facility that can help reduce collateral requirements for SMEs. We hope that many institutions attending today's event will apply to the AGF facility and will help SMEs play a central role in the low-carbon, pollution-free transition. I'm pleased to see that enterprises and finance institutions from Kenya will be among the first to be supported by the African Guarantee Fund and the Nordic Development Fund, putting them in the vanguard of turning today's opportunities into tomorrow's shared prosperity. I'm also heartened to see so many of you here today. Opportunities aplenty lie ahead. I look forward to hearing your views on how we can address and overcome the related challenges that face us. Once more, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Government of Kenya, to our funding partners, and to the finance institutions that are encouraging their staff to attend next week's training sessions with our teams. Thank you very much again for your attention.
Well, that there was the keynote opening speech that happened earlier today morning. Of course, that event having been addressed by, among others, officials from our Treasury, indeed various stakeholders from right across the region. And that conversation is actually continuing as we speak. My colleague Abiagina has been attending that event, well, to bring us up to speed on what exactly has been going on, and now joins us live from the event itself. Well, Abby, the conversation has been around climate change mitigation, funding towards green enterprises, and that sort of thing. What exactly can you tell us is happening so far to enable some of this conversation actually become reality?
Well, many thanks, Wakaba. Of course, this particular conversation is critical for the continent, and it is the Green Finance Conference where stakeholders from different energy sectors, from the financial sector, are basically trying to look at some of the options that are available in terms of funding green initiatives in the continent. Of course, green initiative is a big issue right now, even as the world looks forward to the Millennium Development Goals. And we'll be having an interesting power panel here with me, Wakaba, and we'll be speaking to Percy Hellman, who is the Managing Director for the Nordic Development Fund. He'll also be talking to us about what is the status of affairs in regard to funding for green initiatives. Other than that, we'll also be speaking to David Ekaboam, who is the Head of Business Development for the African Guarantee Fund. He's also with us live here at the Intercontinental Hotel. Many thanks, gentlemen, for making time.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. And let me just start off with Mr. Percy. Big event today, lots of discussions happening from the panels. Where are we as a continent when it comes to funding of green initiatives?
Thank you very much for the question. Let me first of all say that I wish to congratulate Kenya, both the Kenya government, but also the very numerous other stakeholders in the Kenyan economy who have really picked up on green finance and are really leading the way in this region. In Africa and in East African region, Kenya is clearly one of the front runners when it comes to promotion of green finance and green energy. So I'm actually overwhelmed to see the attention and focus on these issues here today.
All right. And let me bring in David. Looking at the continent, there's still a lot of uptake that needs to happen for these green initiatives to take off. Where are we on this?
Good afternoon and thank you for the question. Before I start, I would like also to thank the Kenyan government for hosting us, and also all our technical partners, namely International Trade Center, Kenyan Banker Association, our partner financial institution, for making this event a success. To answer to your question, we are not where we should be in terms of funding of a green initiative, even though there's a lot of initiatives that are taking place around the continent.
Correct.
We are behind where we need to be to have a clear, significant impact on climate change.
All right.
As of now.
And Percy, your organization really does a lot of funding issues around availing finance and also trying to craft some of the initiatives that need to be taken up. Perhaps paint for us a picture of so far how has been the run, and in terms of dollars, how much has gone towards financing of green initiatives under Nordic?
Maybe I can explain that a little bit in putting things into a broader global perspective. And that, of course, comes from the climate change summits over the recent years. And I think as one of the most important ones, the 2015 climate summit in Paris,
yes,
and the agreement that was produced and agreed by the nations there. One of the elements there was an idea of $100 billion annually for climate change purposes for developing countries, and that's the broader context where we are operating in. That money, of course, is not supposed to be coming only from public sector sources. On the contrary, I would imagine that the majority of the funding will need to come from private sources. Which then leads to a very good division of labor between public sector and private sector institutions, and to the need to use public funds in a way that they would so-called catalyze or leverage additional private sector funding into green finance or climate finance purposes.
And still keeping it with that, one of the big conversations in today's sessions was this need for products that banks can be able to also tap into because at the end of the day, it is the SMEs that drive the economy, but they are among the least in terms of accessing these financing solutions that are coming through. What needs to be done to ensure SMEs are not locked out, Pasi?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's one of the key areas where attention should be put on, and that's what we are trying to do. And that comes back actually to the question of how public funds can be used in a way that they attract private funds. One of the big issues has been that private investors or private banks find, for example, green energy or green projects by small and medium-sized enterprises to be too risky for them to enter. So we are trying to use public funds to de-risk that kind of operations, and also to demonstrate to private investors and banks that there's possibilities, commercial possibilities in this area, that the commercial actors, private actors, should take their own initiative and take use of those opportunities.
And David, looking at, just pouring off from Pasi's points, financial institutions are a critical player in this entire system. Of course, there's a lot of interest in terms of accessing this kind of financing, but what else needs to be done in terms of innovation by the banking sector so that they can be able to channel these critical funds to the SMEs that have brilliant ideas around green solutions in the continent?
The innovation for the banking sector will be in tailoring products that are addressing the need of the SME segment. What we are trying to accomplish at AGF, it's through the provision of partial credit guarantee. We want to tell to the banks, we understand that those projects are risky.
Yes.
We want to offset part of that risk by providing you a guarantee, so that if the SME default, at least you can get 50% from AGF. And then we combine that guarantee facility with a technical assistance facility, whereby we are helping financial institutions who are willing to tap into that market, to understand the challenges, to understand the risk, to come with the adequate products.
All right. Gentlemen, we now want to bring this conversation to a close. In a brief, Pasi, what way forward in green finance, if you were to now say this is the new strategic focus we need to take, in brief?
I would say that green finance is an area where we have started to make progress. We are in many ways in the beginning of a process that is to be continued. We've made very good progress in Kenya, in other countries, globally. And in a way, I would even like to say that we perhaps are, or we have put the ball rolling in the way that it will just keep on rolling and the pace will just keep on getting faster. And that's the direction I believe we will be heading into.
All right. Many thanks, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And this conversation continues to become the big issue here at the Intercontinental Hotel. A number of panel discussions happening. And Wakaba, that has been Pasi Hellman, Managing Director, Nordic Development Fund, and David Ekaboma, Head of Business Development for the African Guarantee. Merci.
Thank you very much.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Wakaba, over to you now.
Well, indeed, thank you very much. My colleague Gabi coming to us live from the Intercontinental Hotel here in Nairobi. And one question I know that has been on everyone's mind there, of course, the fact that the leadership of the Americans now being called in question over matters climate change and climate resilience, and of course, the green funding cash, especially after the sentiments that the president has been putting out so far. Well, that conference again, brought to center stage a simmering situation here in Kenya itself. The fact that the Central Bank of Kenya and the, CBA, that of course is the association that brings together all bankers, were at loggerheads over what exact direction the regulation and interest rates should take. Take a listen to that clip.
Unfortunately, the recent capping of interest rates has significantly affected SMEs' ability to access finance from the banking sector. Consequently, this has also affected the growth of green finance in the country. To address this, the banking industry, through KBA, has established the Inuka Enterprise Development Program. Within the program, a capacity building training component has been devised with the main objective of equipping the micro, small, and medium-sized business owners with the knowledge of mitigating market risks, sharpening their business management skills, and strengthening their market reach.
We did see that there was small and medium-sized enterprises were having greater difficulties in accessing finance. That was, from our perspective, that was our prior all along, that this may happen. But I think the data we got, that we are getting, confirms that. And indeed, anecdotal data also that you yourself have probably come across points to this conclusion. So the area of SMEs is actually a key concern. And it's true, there are other things that banks need to do to strengthen their relationship or to their lending to SMEs. And I did mention that during the presentation today. One of these is improving their pricing on risk, pricing of risk. SMEs themselves also need to be a bit more with it, if you may, which is they need to be presenting their financial positions in a much more, quote unquote, intelligent way, intelligent fashion. So there's work to be done here. Is this something that we are concerned about? Absolutely. I think we did say that if there's a sector that is key to job creation looking forward and also for production, it is the SME sector. But I think the point isn't only on the SMEs, it's also on other things. Today we talk more about SMEs because that's really the direction that we are trying to drive the bond, the green.
Well, moving on from that story, an air pollution expert now claims that up to 1,600 Kenyans could face premature death due to air pollution from exhaust gases once the proposed Lamu coal plant is up and running. Now, according to the expert who appeared before the National Environmental Tribunal, which is currently handling a petition to revoke the coal plant license that was issued by NEMA, the impact study conducted by NEMA failed to consider the implications that the power plant would have on public health. Sharon Momanyi now reports.
After 2 hearings within a week failed to take off for lack of quorum by the tribunal, Tuesday saw a gruesome session. Mr. Lori Malivita, an air pollution specialist with Greenpeace organization, would posit that the air quality study on the proposed coal power plant that was done by NEMA falls short of what should be included in an environmental and social impact assessment.
Coal-fired power plants increase PM2.5 levels in 2 different ways. They directly emit PM2.5, but more importantly, they emit SO2 and NOx, which form PM2.5 in the atmosphere. Formation of PM2.5 is responsible for more than 90% of the population exposure.
Mr. Lori argues that the air modeling conducted fails to discuss the impact of air pollutant emissions on human health, crops, and natural ecosystems.
A coal-fired power plant of this size would emit as much air pollutants as several million cars. And that has very significant impacts on public health over a very large area, including places like Garissa and Voi that are quite far away from the power plant. I estimate that the total health impacts over the lifetime of the project would be 1,600 premature deaths caused by exposure to air pollution.
On their part, the NEMA lawyers put forth a strong argument, indicating that the study followed regulations set by the Air Quality Standards Regulations in Kenya, whose standards are way below international best practices.
Are you recommending an amendment of the law, or is the study in compliance with the law as it is supposed to be?
The proposed setup of the coal power plant in Lamu is one that has faced a lot of inertia as the world talks about moving to clean energy production. Proponents of the project say that Kenya does not have the luxury of ignoring this cheap energy as it stands to provide much-needed energy in the country and boost development. Opponents say the human and environmental cost is far too high. The case continues. Sharon Momanyi, KTN News.
Indeed, quite a push and a pull there over that power plant. Of course, you do remember that recently we had right here in studio Sylvester Kasuku, who is the man charged with driving that project, explaining that the initiative wants to use green energy in terms of very high impact coal incineration. Now, moving on, well, Craft Silicon has announced that the tax hailing service Little, powered by Safaricom, is now available in Kisumu and the surrounding towns. The launch comes 11 months since the hailing service was officially launched in Nairobi last year. The service is now available in 3 major towns, that is Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu, with a planned launch in Eldoret and Nakuru before the end of this year. According to the company, the Little app has hit 140,000 downloads and has seen over 4,000 drivers sign up. Little has also signed up 140 corporates, with another 80 expected to come on board over the next 6 months. The company says it has also beefed up customer support for both corporate and individual customers.
To entrepreneurs. If you are driving a car, you are not just a driver, you are an entrepreneur. We want to let you do a lot of things that a driver can do along with driving a car. So we want drivers to be the agents. We want drivers to sell airtime, for example. We want drivers to pay the bills. We want drivers to do M-Pesa.
Our purpose is to transform lives, and our partnership with Little is just a demonstration of this purpose that we want to achieve. So for us to come to Kisumu, to enable the partners in Kisumu, the drivers and corporate to take a ride in Little, it's what we are passionate about.
Well, on that note, we want to proceed on a short break, but on the other side, 2 very interesting conversations here in studio. First, of course, the issue surrounding, well, cash transfers to the elderly. What exactly is that conversation? Right here in studio, an expert, the PS for Social Protection, Susan Muchache. She will be on later on to bring us up to speed on that conversation. And also, Priscilla Mohio, she is the business development manager for East Africa and also marketing manager at OLX. What exactly has been going on at that company in regards to the political conversation that has, well, you've been seeing the campaigns going around, all the choppers. Well, that, of course, is just up in a couple of minutes. Do stay with us here on KTN Business Today.
Business Today, in association with Telkom.
Celebrating our heritage, we are stepping into a bold new future. Join us. Telkom, moving with you.
To call Flex the mother of all bundles. Juu with Flex, unaweza tumia bundle moja kubrowse, kucall, ama kutuma SMS.
Biashara Tips, in association with Safaricom Flex.
Unongoja? Dial *100# or *200# to join Flex today. Ile bundle flexible na affordable na kukupea rewards every time you use M-Pesa. Switch to Flex. Get more, use everything.